Since the beginning of the current fighting in Israel and Palestine, we have seen an absolute cultural implosion, mostly between leftists, but there also exists some contention on the right. Now, it's fascinating because we often say that the left marches in lockstep. Many of these liberals will align themselves with leftists even when they disagree, as evidenced by Ethan Klein's partnership with Hasan Piker. For those that are not familiar, I think most of you are, Hasan is the largest left-wing live streamer. Ethan Klein is a prominent internet personality, comedian, and now podcaster, and they do a show together called Leftovers. A couple weeks ago, Ethan Klein said he may be putting Leftovers on pause. And toward the end of their stream on Friday, he walked off the show after being spammed with Zionist and a whole bunch of other, insults and epithets and things of that nature. It's not just on the left, though. We're certainly seeing conflict on the right. Personalities that were typically more in support of Donald Trump, now feuding with other conservatives and people who are pro-Israel. And boy, is it all just breaking down in rather shocking ways. Hasan Piker goes on a show with Ethan Klein, Ethan Klein is Jewish and married to an IDF veteran, and he says the killing of babies is a matter of law and may be justified because those babies are settlers. I am not exaggerating. I will play the clip for you. What can I say? Wow. In the quote unquote right sphere, which includes post-liberals and things like that, we have Barry Weiss saying anti-Israel sentiment shows that society is breaking down. And I'm like, I've never wanted more to just get in my van and go down by the river. Chris Farley was onto something. It seems like everyone's just plumb losing their minds. And I'm just sitting here like, man, I don't know why there is such a dramatic obsession with Israel-Palestine. I understand. Look, if you want to make an argument about U.S. funding foreign countries, I'm listening. I am concerned that you, good American individual, you work every day. You are trying to figure out how to feed yourself, your family, pay your rent, be successful, be a contributing member of society. And large portions of the money you generate is taken by Uncle Sam to go blow up kids somewhere else. And now, if the left is arguing Israel's blowing up kids and all that, I'm like, look, man, you want to make a historical argument about who's right, who is wrong, and all of this stuff? I don't know, dude. I am not a scholar on this. We had Aaron Mate on the show last night. He's a good dude. He's more left. He's pro-Palestine. But when I talk to him and then I talk to someone who's more pro-Israel, they give me two very different versions of history. And we have this with Ethan Klein and what may be the shattering of the left as we know it. Because this is a really great example. Ethan Klein is not a leftist. Ethan Klein is a guy who was prominent on the internet, who was an edgy comedian who made offensive jokes, and like many other celebrities, seemed to decide that the quote-unquote left was the safe position for their careers moving forward once the split culturally happened. When many former Democrats decided to start supporting Donald Trump and things of that nature, we end up with big celebrities, like Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer, many of these prominent celebrities who have no business in politics, all of a sudden we're like, we're leftists. And the issue there becomes Ethan Klein, who is married to an Israeli woman, an Israeli Defense Force veteran, is my understanding. I could be wrong, but my understanding is that she did serve. I could be, again, could be wrong. I don't know a whole lot about him and his family. I got no beef. Why would he ever decide to do a show with Hasan Piker? Why would any of these celebrities, you know why? This has been the point we all who are opposing of the cult, the woke cult and the leftists have been saying the entire time. When Donald Trump steps onto the scene, I say something like, look, man, I have my positions. I know what I believe. There are things I like and I don't like. Critical of Donald Trump, I said he's a potty mouth, bad decorum and all that stuff. But in the end, when it actually came down to the election, there's no way I'm voting for Joe Biden because Donald Trump, no new wars. There's a lot of beneficial things there. And I'm practical, somewhat pragmatic, and I can only do what I think will inch us towards a better life and things like this. But you see, when many people like me who are moderate leaning, slightly left, you had people like us. And in fact, I bet many of you watch or watched Ethan Klein's videos and shows in the past. I did. And then what ends up happening is he decides, I'm going to go with the left on this one. You get people like me and many people like you who are like, look, I'm not going with anybody, man. Just be honest. And in the end, my thing is, man, I have people who say, Timcast is audience captured. I'm like, quite literally not. Nah, I was getting 120 million views in 2020. Okay. I cut those views successfully in half by just maintaining my position. And my position has always been, I'll just say what I think, and I'm wrong often. I'm not going to try to pander to people to earn their viewership. And when people are like, oh, Tim sucks, I'm not going to watch. There's nothing I can do about that, man. I cannot just try and chase after a market block as if I'm producing something for people instead of just trying to be me and explain who I am. This show would never work if I was constantly trying to figure out how to attract more viewers. All I can do is just be who I am. And this results in viewership decline. And I just really don't care. I really don't care. During the election cycle, I'm like, Trump's got to win. A lot of people liked it. After Trump lost, I said, Trump lost. They said, no, he didn't. You're wrong. And they went for the fraud narrative. You're allowed to believe that. I don't know everything. I could be wrong about a lot. I probably am. But then a lot of people don't want to watch. But I tell you this. I said this at Occupy. I said it after Occupy. I said it to all the Trump supporters and all the conservatives in 2018. You think I'm on your side. I'm not on anyone's side. I should say I'm on the side of, American values, meritocracy, individual liberties, things like this. And there will come a time when the factions split and they shift and people are going to say, oh, you changed. And this is exactly what happens. Let me get into the story here, because what we're seeing now is, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward in the culture war and politics, because I could not have predicted this. You've got people, you've got black voters in Chicago putting out videos saying they're going to vote for Republicans because of the failures of the Democrats. You've got pro-Palestinian activists saying they refuse to vote for Joe Biden and they will mobilize against him over his support for Israel. And then you have culturally on the left this. Now, I think many of you may not actually care. I mean, it's not like Ethan Klein and Hasan Piker are MSNBC or a massive multinational corporation or anything like this. They're dudes with opinions. But the shattering of this show is look, Amy Schumer's old guard, right? She's on Netflix. She does all this traditional media stuff. And she's been posting conservative websites because she's defending Israel. And she's been attacked for it. There have been many other personalities who are facing risk because they're pro-Israel. Aaron Matte on the show last night says, no way. Who got fired? And I'm like, Tara Strong got fired abruptly online. I got another story for you. At a film festival, a bunch of filmmakers refused to participate because the festival condemned the phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." There is a massive rupturing that is occurring on the left. And I got another video for you. Ben Shapiro, apparently, I got this clip, says Candace Owens is being disgraceful in her behaviors. And I'm just sitting back like, man, I don't know why everyone cares so much about this. Now, to be fair, I totally get why Ethan Klein does. His wife's Israeli. I totally get why Ben Shapiro does. Ben Shapiro was literally in Israel just before this happened. I get and respect that. If you are directly connected to this event, you have family and friends there, totally understand. Justin Amash, he lost family members in Gaza. And I'm like, I understand why you are bringing this up. Let's try and figure this one out. But for so many Americans obsessed, I don't get it. But you know what? This is a variable that is going to absolutely rupture our expectations, shatter what we thought might happen in this upcoming election and what it means to be in a culture war. Let's roll the story. Ethan Klein trades barbs with Hasan Piker, Twitch chat over Israel and Palestinian conflict. And toward the end of Friday's stream, Klein walked off the show. Take a look at this. Klein, a Jewish man who is married to a Jewish woman that previously served in the Israeli Defense Forces, has worked with Piker for several years on the Leftovers podcast, in which the two discuss current events and internet culture from a liberal perspective. We have this one. Ethan Klein breaks down on stream after withstanding an unending barrage of 30,000 cultists in Hasan's chat, spamming Hamas are resistance fighters and from the river to the sea and Zionist pig perpetually for 3 straight hours. It was hard to watch. You know what, man? All I can really say is, here's the cold wake-up call that may result in, I do believe, us winning the culture war, which is what we've been trying to do for some time. Why? because Ethan Klein should be on our side of this culture war. Here's what I mean by that. I've had arguments with Steven Crowder, friendly, as friends. I think Steven Crowder does tremendous work. His recent expose of the manifesto was some of the most important and the best investigative journalism we've seen in our lifetime. But there's a lot of great investigative journalism, so I think Steven Crowder's team hit it out of the park. Steven Crowder and I have had arguments on pro-choice, pro-life, etc. And in the end, we're like, nice to meet you. Thanks for hanging out. Let's have a good time. Even though we disagree and are somewhat differing in politics, we're Americans and we like America. Ethan Klein should be absolutely in this space. He should be arguing with me and people like Crowder and then being friends. Why? Edgy comedian guy on the internet. Instead, he decided to align with cult leftist insanity. You want me to, look, I'm gonna play this clip for you.
Man. And you know I'm not a fucking radical Jew. I'm not even a religious Jew.
No,
I have no stake in the game. And this is coming from...
He just goes silent. And then he puts his hand to his forehead.
I know.
And then he just leaves. He can't do it. My dude, Ethan Klein, brother. This would never happen if you were in our space. Ethan, you as a social democrat could come on Timcast IRL or any other show with Steven Crowder, with who else? Who, I don't know. Crowder's a good example. You go on these shows, you talk to someone maybe like Viva and Barnes. You talk to Styx Hexenhammer. I don't think Styx does like interviews, but I'm just saying, like, you come in this space with disparate ideologies and opinions, ain't nobody going to insult you and attack you to this insane of a degree. When we, on Timcast IRL, it's fascinating to see, like, it goes back and forth. We get accused at Timcast of being Zionist shills. And we also have people here who are accused of being pro-Hamas and other. It's nuts. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, man, he storms off the show. The left is attacking him. You must align with their views. Ethan's got a video clip where he mentions, this is back on October 24th, he said that it's crazy to see people on his servers in his chat just wholly believing Hamas propaganda, just outright. And this is a tweet from Nicholas Diorio. Ethan Klein announces leftovers will likely be on pause going forward. He's planning to discuss this with Hasan soon. Let me show you this. This is from The Federalist. Leftist streamer Hasan Piker justifies Hamas baby beheadings as both legal and moral. This October 27th. When I saw this, I said, no. Come on. I mean, like, Hasan's many things, but this is a bit too much, Federalist. Certainly you have skewed this headline. Oh, they posted a video. They posted this video and this, I got to play this clip.
Palestinians, and this is going to sound very radical and possibly very violent, but this is a matter of law, and maybe even if you agree with this, a matter of morality. Palestinians have the legal ground to violently seize back their own homes from the settlers. This is a reality, and that is precisely the reason why they have to exist under endless occupation in the West Bank.
You know what? And that's why I say, if it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable. Yeah. But let's not obfuscate, okay? I understand what you're saying, but this dude just called babies militants.
No, I understand. And there are baby settlers as well. But there are baby settlers as well. There are babies in the settlements.
But the babies that killed were not.
I know.
Okay, so
now that we established that. No, hold on. Now that we established that.
Okay, I have to understand. I have to assume there's more context to this. I don't think Hasan is outright calling babies militants. But let me play that for you one more time.
Have to exist under endless occupation in the West
You know
Bank.
what? And that's why I say, if it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable. Yeah. But let's not.
If it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable, right? Here's what Hasan says.
Obfuscate. Okay, I understand what you're saying. But this dude just called babies militants.
No, I understand. And there are baby settlers as well. But there are baby settlers as well. There are babies in the settlements.
But
there are baby settlers as well. Okay. I got to play this for you again.
Palestinians, and this is going to sound very radical and possibly very violent, but this is a matter of law, and maybe even if you agree with this, a matter of morality. Palestinians have the legal ground to violently seize back their own homes from the settlers. This is a reality, and that is precisely the reason why they have to exist under endless occupation in the West Bank.
You know what? And that's why I say, if it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable.
Yeah. Okay, so let me break this down for you. He's saying Palestinians have the right to engage in these actions and be violent to seize back their land, or the legal ground to do so, or the moral ground. That's his argument. Ethan Klein says, yes, but he's calling babies militants. And then Hasan says, they're baby settlers. Ethan Klein says if they were settlers, it would be more understandable, more understanding. And he says the babies are settlers. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. He's literally saying the babies are targets. Are absolutely. This is just absolutely insane, man. Don't get me wrong. My position on all of this is very much so that, you know, it's war, baby, and bad things happen in war. And anybody who claims that there are special rules and laws for how war is carried out, they're full of it. They're trying to rock you to bed with beautiful fairy tales. War is chaos, destruction, and all anybody wants is victory. You think anybody's going to come out and be like, that wolf committed a crime by killing too many deer? No. Wolves will kill the deer and they'll eat what they want to eat. There's no special rules for how they do it. It was wrong of the wolf to kill the young fawn, but we'll arrest them promptly. Now, there are certain things we do when it comes to animals to control animal populations and things like this. My point is, baby, in war, okay, to the victory go the spoils. To the victors go the spoils. When it comes to what we want, this is the point of war. If we as civilized people say, no killing babies, okay, no chemical weapons, and it's horrifying stuff. Sure, because we want stability and we believe in morals. And it's because our own people would not tolerate such extreme actions. But you know what the other guys are going to say? They're going to say, I will do anything by any means necessary to win. And Hasan is bringing that point up, that Palestinians can have a legal justification of killing babies because the babies are settlers on their land and they can violently seize it back. Now, here's the point. There's probably a bunch of leftists that agree with him. That's why he's a big streamer. Okay. I think Hasan just says quite literally whatever his audience wants him to say. I really do think that. And that's evidenced by the fact that famous, or I shouldn't say famously, but many to you may know this. I did a video agreeing with Hasan. And he made a video ragging on me about it. And I'm like, okay, dude, my position is principle and morals. His is whatever my audience expects. They don't like Tim Pool, I'll rag on him. But imagine being Ethan Klein in this position. Imagine being a dude who hitched your wagon to a radical extremist faction of people so insane that they would try in some way to justify the killing of babies. Dude, my criticisms of Israel are that babies are dying. That I see these videos. I don't believe Hamas. Hamas lies all the time. The hospital bombing, the refugee camp, just liars. Shut your mouths. But you do know, it is a fact, that there is collateral damage and collateral murder, whatever you want to call it. The argument is, from Ben Shapiro, Israel targeting Hamas and civilians dying in the process is dramatically different from Hamas landing in Israel and then going and massacring civilians. He is correct. Sorry, but it's true. It doesn't mean what Israel is doing is good. It doesn't mean that there can't be that we don't have to criticize. No, there should be criticism of Israel. But I do think Hamas is substantially worse in what they're doing. And no, I don't think there is any moral justification for killing babies. I think the strategic move Hamas could have made, if their intention really was right of return or whatever, would be entering Israel, creating a corridor where they rush civilians out, all civilians, go into if they were going to the kibbutzim, I got the proper plural for kibbutz. If they went into these places, they could have just removed people and said, you leave now. We don't want you getting hurt, but we are taking our land back. Would have been a very, very different story. They would have got tremendous sympathy internationally. But you know what? That's not Hamas's goal. Hamas wanted to shut down the Abraham Accords, and they wanted to shift the conversation back to Hamas. And they know that by engaging in extremist acts and killing civilians, then they're going to get the West to pay them. And that's exactly what happened. But anyway, I digress. I'm not here to make moral arguments about Israel-Palestine. And people are like, oh, wait, dude, war is escalating. Our culture is fragmenting. People are outright losing their minds over all of this. And to see so many people, it's so heartbreaking to see Ethan Klein be like, I'm a leftist, so I'll agree with these crazy people. We're like, dude, don't put the adult books in schools. Everyone should agree with this. Don't have children taking off their clothes for adult men at gay bars. Everyone should agree with this. But they come on shows like mine. When we have some of these people come on and they say, then you're for censorship. Dude, y'all are pandering to the left for the sake of appearing like you're in alignment. And now it's a cold, hard wake-up call when people like Hasan say, well, but the babies were settlers. You know, some of them are settlers. Are you nuts? Dude, I'm sorry, man. I got moral lines. And I can have arguments to the detriment of my own business by being like, I am not a staunch pro-lifer. And there are people who are like, Tim's a baby killer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, okay, look, dude, I'm not going to lie to you, okay? I'm going to tell you what I genuinely believe. My opinions change on some things. If you like the show, I appreciate it. Okay, watch our documentaries or whatever. There are things I believe in, things that I think must be protected and maintained. The values of this country are magnificent. We've gotten rid of the bad ones. We keep the good ones. We'll keep doing that. And we got to push back on the far left psychosis that's destroying everything. But too many people, you look at this, you look at the Marvels, right? I'll do another segment on this because the director is speaking out. Biggest Marvel box office bomb yet. The lowest opening. Why go broke? We've been saying it for a decade. How many people in the industry said we're gonna make a diverse cast and smash the patriarchy or whatever? And what happens? Everybody hates it. It fails. These ideas are bad ideas. But so many people are so terrified of the left that they just bend their knees to them. Stop doing it. That doesn't mean you're far right. Doesn't mean you're a conservative. We had Aaron Matsey on the show. Dude is a leftist who uses the words unhoused to refer to homeless people and is pro-Palestine. And they call him right-wing because he opposes foreign intervention in war, despite the fact that he's pro-Palestine. Doesn't matter. He's right-wing. Look at this one. This is Aaron Matsey. He confronted, was it Chris Coons on a train, asking him why he did not support a ceasefire. And Coons said, please stop talking to me. You're on a quiet car. They threw Aaron Matsey off the train. And I got to give it to Aaron. Asking a politician a question, I think is a good thing. Journalists should do this. He's on a quiet car. He was asked to be quiet. He said, okay. He was told to move. He did. They still threw him off the train later. They shouldn't have done that. To be fair, Chris Coons needs, these people are also bad at PR. It's just also bad. Let me tell you what I'd do, okay? If I was Chris Coons and a guy sat down in front of me and said, why don't you call for a ceasefire? I'd say, who are you? What's your name? And then Aaron says, I'm Aaron Matsey. I'm a journalist at the Gray Zone. I'd say, we're in the quiet car. Where are you getting off? Like, would you want to talk later? I know it's a cheap political answer, like to not answer questions, but let's not, I don't want to make a scene right here, and it's not a good place to do this. Let's talk as we're getting off the train if we're going to the same place, probably DC, right? And maybe not. Or I would just, I'd talk to people. If someone came up to me and said, I got questions for you, I'd be like, let's talk. Okay, that's plain and simple. But anyway, I digress. This is what you get. This is where we're currently at in terms of the total breakdown. Let me show you a few other things. Filmmakers pull out of Amsterdam Festival, condemns Palestine protest. From Newsweek, Marvel superhero Sabra. Look at her. Her costume is the Israeli flag and she's a Star of David. She's fighting the Hulk. And the rumor is they may be removing her from the next Captain America movie because they're bending the knee to the far left. We then have, in the inverse, anti-Semitism is a symptom of a much deeper crisis, a sign that society itself is breaking down. Dude, people are allowed to criticize Israel, man. But, there's a constant conflation that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. And it's just like, dude, I got no problem saying criticizing Zionism is not criticizing Jews. However, I do not accept that people who are chanting from the river to the sea are simply saying we want equal rights. That's the leftist argument. And the problem is the phrase is used mostly to just mean like the end of Israel, which, would result in the death of Jews. It's complicated. I know everybody says, that's not what I mean. We don't mean that. Hasan Piker made the argument that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is not also saying, and we will wipe out Israel and kill all the Jews. But I'm sorry. That it's just the left lies about so much. If from the River Jordan to the sea, Palestine will be free, they are outright saying they want the return of all of their land and they will accept nothing less. I mentioned this last night. There is no solution here, and I don't care to be party to it. And yeah, but historically we are, dude. Look, we're a new generation, and we're gonna go a different path on this one. My point is, there are civilians who live in these areas who have no idea what you're talking about. They understand the history. I totally get it. Right? The United States is a young country. The Middle East has been around for thousands upon these countries and these people have been around for thousands and thousands of years. So they have different traditions. But the idea that you've got a 23-year-old who lives in a house, who bought the house and moved there, now we're going to take that house from him to give to somebody else, just perpetuates the same crisis. There is no solution, right? Well, but 70 years ago, these people lost their homes. Okay, well, the dude who's 20 years old was not party to that war and is now living in that home. We can't just keep taking land back and forth. If they were to actually remove Israel and then move a bunch of Palestinians back into these houses and everything, oh, they're illegal settlers in southern Israel and in the West Bank. What happens then is there's going to be a kid who's going to be like, my dad worked really hard and bought a house. He had nothing to do with this war. And then the government came and took that from him. And he's going to hold those resentments. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying this just perpetuates the issue. And then finally, it would be unfair of me to only focus on Hasan and Ethan Klein. We also have this clip with Ben Shapiro.
Yes, the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I can't know that. Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful.
Absolutely disgraceful.
Her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
You know what? I tremendously respect. Ben Shapiro, Ian Milestrong says, condemns disgraceful Candace Owens for her faux sophistication on the issue of Israel. She has been checked on air for getting basic facts wrong. I don't know exactly what that's all about. But you know what I love and respect? The Daily Wire publishes Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is basically the Daily Wire guy. He's a prominent owner. And I think it's a good thing that Ben Shapiro is critical of the people he works with. It's insane to me that people are like, oh, Ben and, you know, the other people at the Daily Wire are critical of each other. I'm like, that's a good thing. That's why we are where we are. If Ethan Klein was understood who he was aligning himself with and then came out and said, oh, here we go. I know your position. I get it. I'd sing a different tune. This is so tepid. Ben Shapiro's criticism of Candace Owens, it does show that there is discord on the right. Totally get it. You know what's going to happen? I think they're going to move forward, and that's just that. Ethan Klein absolutely cannot align with Hasan. The disagreement between Ben and Candace is minor. Her faux sophistication is disgraceful. How dare she? But Candace is not going out and justifying the killing of babies or anything like this. Cassandra McDonald, nay Fairbanks, who is a friend of mine, one of my best friends, and works here at Timcast, has been very critical of Israel, very much so. A lot of friends with a lot of the anti-war people who are pro-Palestine, and absolutely in no way justifying any of these killings the way Hasan does. I know the opinions of the people that I work with, some very pro-Israel, some very pro-Palestine. But we all agree the killing of civilians is wrong, and that's what our goal is to minimize. Then you get Ethan and Hasan, where Hasan says, oh, but the babies are settlers. It's just like, oh my God. This is going to be fascinating. This story is absolutely fascinating. What we're seeing in the culture war is absolutely fascinating. I have no idea what this will mean for the culture war moving forward and what this means for the 2024 election, but it is going to be wild. You know, to see the strange bedfellows, as it were. Yeah, look, man. I will sit down with Aaron Mate, pro-Palestine. I will sit down with Ron Coleman, pro-Israel. We will have whoever on the show, and we will talk, and we will say what we think. And I argued with Aaron a little bit last night on like school and the Department of Education and Israel-Palestine and a bunch of things. And, you know, I'll argue what I think and why I think it. And people will tell me I'm wrong or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's what it is. If you watch Timcast, then you'll likely see more of this. If the left is willing to come on these shows and have these conversations, then I'll argue with them. But sometimes people here will agree with them. I was talking about Ukraine, and we had a couple people on the show. I think it might have been Libby, and I think it was Actual Justice Warrior, and they were in disagreement with me. Like, we just try to have a conversation about these things and figure out and explain what we think and how we feel. I hope that at the very least that puts us in an insulated space where in the long run, people know that watching this show means you will disagree with people on it. Or I should say IRL, this is the morning show. You'll disagree with me for sure. And you don't have to agree with me on everything I say. It is what it is. I do. It is sometimes sad, I think to myself. I look at some of these other shows that avoid subjects that may result in negative attention. Like I did a segment yesterday on the Vegas teen being beaten to death, and I got like 17% thumbs down, which is high. Normally it's like 4. And that means a decent amount of y'all who watch disagreed with my take, and then YouTube age restricted it. And so that costs me a lot of money. It's 18 plus only. And I'm like, dude, I saw the video. I was passionate about it. I'm going to talk about it. You know what? I did a segment, UFC erupts for Trump, 300,000 views. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. I'm like, I like that. I like seeing that there's something of interest. People like what I had to say, wanted to hear my opinions on these things, thought the story was important. And I also really like that when I do a segment on something I care about, it gets age restricted and thumbs down, because I want to make sure there's no audience capture here. I am not going to ignore stories that I care about because I think my audience will get mad about it. I know there's a lot of people who do just that. They say, well, it's going to piss off my audience, so I won't talk about it. Well, I'm not going to do that. And I hope what that means is, in the long run, it may mean a smaller market cap for who I am. But that's not my intention or not my goals to maximize market cap. It may mean that Timcast is limited in the maximum growth potential. So be it. The only thing I care about is winning the culture war for what I think are important values. And those values are at the root supportive of so many others. You and I may disagree on abortion, but we must defend your right to speak and the understanding of the issues and your position on them, because we want to solve problems. And that means if I'm wrong about something, we absolutely have to have a steel man argument, and that person come in and argue it to me. I was much more pro-cop, and then Michael Malice came in and made a bunch of points, and I said, Michael's right. He's right about this. It's good to have these arguments. And I still think we need police, but I am very critical of urban police departments and the things they've done and what we saw, for instance, in Maui. Undeniable. So a lot of people are like, Tim's a milquetoast fence sitter, doesn't take positions and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, it's because I don't think I know everything. And then when someone comes to me and makes that argument, I'm like, I didn't know that. I get asked about, well, what are your thoughts on this case? And I'm like, don't know anything about it. I can't remember who asked me. Somebody asked me about Casey Anthony. And I was like, I don't know anything about it. What am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to just blindly agree with one side or the other? Nah. What I can tell you is, Hasan saying that some of the babies are settlers is just, it's exactly why that statement right there exemplifies why I am where I am. I lean left on a lot of issues, but you think I would ever stand arm in arm with a guy who says something like that? I'm sorry, no way. Absolutely not. Ethan Klein, the opposite. He was willing to do so. And we keep saying like, dude, don't support these people. They're evil. I'm sorry, dude. Saying that about babies is evil. It just is. I look, that's the world I live in. I hate war. People should not be killed. In any circumstance where someone thinks there's a legal or moral justification to go and kill babies, that is the evil that we must oppose. But anyway, I digress. You get my point in all this, I suppose. It's fascinating to watch. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.